10 o'clock, and we'll go ahead and we will open our Building and Finance meeting. I'm calling the meeting to order. Do we have any public comments?
Nope.
No public comments, so then that just leads us into, we have our February Building and Finance meeting minutes. Those are there for you to review. And we can go ahead and move on to our building major projects and project plans.
I have both the microphone and speaker off.
Okay. That's okay. Are we better?
Yeah.
That's fine.
We'll have Dave Keating go ahead and share with us our major projects and equipment plans. We have a window replacement project and an alterations bid to discuss.
Yes, we do. Okay, good evening, everybody. I can just start us off with our current renovations going on for our major capital projects. The varsity baseball field, they've back to work. They've been on them all with the nice weather we had. Well, aside from all last week, they were on the field, making great progress. I'm hoping to get an update this week as far as when they're hoping to give me a good estimate on when they might be completed with the project, so we can get the turf in to start getting that laid out and hopefully get playing baseball on soon enough. The renovations to the pool, to the roofs for phase 2 is still on schedule to start in June. Phase 1 solar panels, I've got a meeting, 2 meetings this week regarding hopefully starting to schedule to plan them to come out sooner, as soon as next month. The window replacement project we'll go over shortly. The alterations project will do the same. Pool filter renovations, we're still waiting on IDPH permits before they goes out to bid, and we may have to go out before we get it, just so we can make sure we get a contractor lined up for the summer. But we're told that within a couple of weeks we may be hearing something from IDPH, so we're hoping for that. The elevators, the equipment's in. So they're on schedule to be starting in June as well. Water main replacement for the concession in Westfield at Sandburg in the back. That is hopefully starting soon. We're waiting on background checks for the employees, and I've got a meeting for that tomorrow to discuss their plans of starting, maybe even get most of it done during spring break, hopefully when there's nobody there. And then as far as the ACM removal for the roofing project, we have that still lined up the first week as soon as the kids are out of school, and that's all set for there. We had 2 bid openings last Thursday, March 11th. The first one we had was for the building alterations. We received...
Actually, they're in a different order in the package.
Okay, let us go in the order we opened them up. We can do that. All right. We'll start with the windows first. This was the second bid opening of that day, but that doesn't mean there were hour difference. So, okay, we had 7 contractors picked up bid documents. We received 3 bids. The bids ranged from $348,200 to $509,730. The lowest bid was Kroll Window Company. Their bid was $348,203. So we worked a lot with Kroll. They did the east windows recently at Sandburg last summer, and we're happy for the work, so we're going to suggest the bid be awarded to them at tomorrow night's board meeting. As far as the alterations bid was the second one we opened up. The alterations bid includes band room work at Andrew, the basketball hoops, all the backstops at their gym are breaking down and old. Lots of doors and windows at all 3 schools. Doors at all 3 schools, windows at 2 of the schools. And then we had flooring replacement, Stag, in the 100 building, the 300 building, and the 600 building. Stag also has some doors to work in the courtyard. Andrew's marquee sign. We had 8 contractors pick up bid documents. We received 7 bids. The bids range from $903,500 to $1,471,053. The lowest bidder was Empire Construction with a bid of $903,500. we were vetting the bids, and their bid in particular, if you look at the bidding results, we're about 400,000 off of where everybody else was at, and about where we actually had our guesstimate for the work that would be done. So we were asking the contractor, and they made a mistake on their bid, and they requested to remove their bid. So the next bidder, top bidder in line is True Construction. With their bid was, let's see, I have it separate somewhere here, but they had, was it 1.315? I can get you the exact number, I still look it up.
Here it is.
1.237.
Plus the other two.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I don't have it added up exactly. It's on my other document, but I can add that up fast if we need to. Troop is the one who've done construction for us for the last 3 summers. This will be the 3rd summer. So they've done great work, so we have no problem awarding the bid to Troop Construction.
So Empire withdrew their bid.
They have, yes.
At this point, does anybody have any questions for Dave in regards to these bids or the progress on any of our major projects before we move on? Anyone?
No?
All right. Then we will go ahead and,
Food is plenty. There's all kinds of work to be done.
and the only question I had was Empire's bid was so much different.
Yeah, and
from
they
now
made,
that's been removed.
an error, but they were still the low bidder when we opened it up last Thursday. With the turnaround, we wouldn't have even normally had to show you that bid in general, but how quick our turnaround was for this was what I had in.
Okay.
Before we had a chance to really vet them.
And the confidence level of Troop in getting all of these things done in time and on schedule and everything was good, huh?
Yes, yeah, Troop has been great they've done the last 2 years of summer work for the district.
The Eagle Gym, that balcony railing, that doesn't shut the gym down.
It does.
It does?
We'll shut the gym down, yes. That was actually bid out last summer and was pulled. And so Troop was already aware of that work in general. So this has been on our list for a few years. So Sandberg was willing to have their gym be shut down. They were aware of it before we went forward.
Safety thing like that.
Okay, well, then we'll go ahead and have John Lavelle go over our finances. We'll start with our treasurer's reports and then our financial reports.
Yep, in your packet on page 12 is the treasurer's report. I'll just direct your attention to the second. Well, actually, on the first table there, you can see that revenues have picked up with local property taxes coming in. We had more revenues this month than expenditures, which so we're kind of going to have a couple months like that where we're getting the tax proceeds as people pay their tax bills. So the beginning balance for the January, or actually, if we go down to the second table, the fund balance as of July 1, 2020 was $100,852,710. Revenues of $84,338,299. Expenditures of $97,879,706. So expenditures still exceed revenues right now, but we'll probably see that change over next month. And then the ending fund balance was $87,311,303. Going into the financials then, on page 13, again, I think these half circles at the top of the page really kind of tell the story without going into a lot of the nitty-gritty, and I think that's the level at this point, a little over midway through the year, that we need to look at, especially since we're tracking really pretty true on both revenues and expenditures. if you look at the actual revenues, the yellow half donut or whatever, expected revenues for the, at this point in the year would have been about 61.89% of the revenues budgeted for having been received, and we're at 58.29%. And I was just talking to Tara about this earlier. We saw a delay in taxes because there was some forgiveness of paying late on your tax bill, so we have seen the effect of that, nothing too dramatic or serious. So we're expecting next month that's gonna catch up, and we'll see that track a little bit closer. You can see in the green, the next half circle over, that represents local revenues, and you can see we're at 57%, where normally we're at almost 61%. So that's really where it's tracking light, and we should be getting caught up. On the state side, we're doing fine, at almost 70%, where we're normally at about 69%. So moving on to expenditures on page 14, looking at those same circles, half circles at the top of the page, you can see actual expenditures projected, we're at 64.68%, and we're at 61.55%, so we're below the expected on expenditures, which is good. And same with salaries and benefits, we're slightly below the projected, just a fraction of a percent below, but we're tracking, true to what would be expected for both salaries and benefits. And then you can see everything else is tracking, all other objects are tracking below, what would have been expected at this point of time in the year. So overall, doing very well with both revenues and expenditures. The next pages obviously just provide a lot more detail, both on an aggregate basis and then by individual fund. And unless there's any questions specifically about any of those pages, I think we'll just move along here to the investments. Were there any questions on the financial reports? All right, hearing none, I'll move on to the investments then. We've been talking about trying to find other avenues for investment, and we did, and you'll see in this report that we did move $5 million. Again, what's it called? LTD. The LTD, which is long-term duration series that's offered through Liquid Asset Funds Plus, and it is tracking at about a 0.2% right now. And you'll see in the statement that it is similar to our long-term portfolio, in that we do reflect interest separate from gains and losses on the investment, and we'll go over that in just a second. But on page 27, you can see that overall our what's that?
This is just the bond.
Oh, okay. On page 27, this is just the bonds. I'll go back to page 28. I'm sorry. On page 28, you'll see that our weighted average portfolio yield is down to 0.265%, and we're down to 125.22 days. And that's of course we've removed $5 million and put that in the long-term duration investment, which is a one-year investment, and is tracking at about a 0.2. But we are looking for CDs. There currently are none that would provide much benefit in us moving our money into. And it's hard to imagine that rates could go much lower. So we're waiting for an opportunity to invest some funds as rates rebound and recover. So then the next page, 27, is just our bond funds, and that's at about a 1.93%, or no, I'm sorry, a 0.388% with 128.98 day duration, average duration. But yeah, going on to page 28, you'll see this is our Ltd investment, and again, we put $5 million in. We're currently at $999.90 less than what we put into the account, but that's again an unrealized loss. And if you look to our long-term portfolio, I mean, we'll see this improve next month. This will be positive again next month. But if you look to our long-term duration portfolio, which is reflected on, I think 31 is the best place to look at that. You can see in the 2.5 years we've had the money invested, we've made $1.5 million since July of 2018. You know, with an average yield of 10.42%. So, you know, excellent decision to go into that long term, and this Ltd is going to be similar. It's just got to be in there and realize some gains, you know, on those investments. But overall, I think, you know, we're doing pretty as well as we can with investments with such a bad market right now. It's hard to really make very much money on our investments. But.
Hey, John?
Yes.
Just a quick question. With the rates so low and, you know, potential maybe that there may be a slight increase in the next few months, has there been any thought that when some of these CDs mature in the next month or two, that instead of reinvesting them in the really low rate CDs, that just hold the money in cash and wait and see if we can get a higher rate?
Yeah, I think that's been our approach. I think we've had, you know, some monies coming in. You know, I think, Tony, you and I spoke or corresponded earlier. A lot of the money that was sitting in the max account was liquid because about half of it or more than half of it we used for the month's, you know, for the month's activities. But yeah, we are trying to, you know, sometimes you think, it depends on the difference between what we can get in the max account and what we could get in a CD. And, you know, keeping in mind, again, that if they're nearly the same, it's probably better to wait than to tie up the funds for, you know, a year or a year and a half in a 0.07% investment. If we're getting, you know, what are we getting in the max right now? I guess it's 0.02 right now, but it fluctuates from month to month. So, you know, at 5 basis points worth, tying up your money for a year and a half, it's you know, they can do a return analysis for us at PMA that shows like how many, you know, what rate would we have to achieve in 3 months to surpass what we would get if we invested today at, you know, 0.07 versus the 0.02 that we're getting. You know, they can do that kind of analysis for us, and you know, right now the numbers are just so small, there really isn't a lot we can do. You know?
Yeah. Now, about 2 weeks ago, we saw the first movement in quite a while in the short term, but it was only like 5 basis points. It wasn't much, but at least there was some movement upward, which hasn't happened in quite a while. So, you know, I don't know if it will happen again and how soon, but I think, you know, we may have reached bottom.
Yeah, I think it's prudent to wait now and see what happens for a little bit. But We won't wait too long, because, you know, you can lose opportunities, but, you know, if we see a point one, you know, a CD for 12 months at point one, we'll probably jump on it. I know it sounds low, but, you know, for a $500,000 investment, you know, I think we'll grab those as they come along, and then hope for better as we move on.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Anyone else have any questions for John? John, was there anything else you wanted to address as far as financials then?
No, I don't think so. I mean, what other well, there was another revenue that kind of is a good segue into the transportation summary.
Okay.
We received 2 checks from ABC, you know, Richley Vans, ABC, as a reimbursement for the fact that they received some stimulus funds from the COVID-19 stimulus bill from last year. So we did receive, what was it, about $100,000, 90?
About 100.
About $100,000 from them, reimbursing us for when we were paying, what was it, 35% and no more than 80% last year when we weren't actually receiving services. So while they were paying their employees and we were paying them, they've recovered some of that money, and they're giving it back to us as the agreement called for. So that was nice to see that come through. And just on that note, Nikisha's been doing a tremendous job reviewing the bills. She takes that very seriously, and she's doing a really good job. She has caught a lot of little mistakes and questioned things that resulted in savings. So I really appreciate that. The latest thing she found was just a small cleaning charge that was being incurred for charter runs. And she was saying, why are they cleaning the buses twice when, you know, they're not possibly dropping these kids off, driving all the way back to the transportation facility, having the bus disinfected, and then driving them back to pick up the kids. So she questioned that, and they said, yeah, no, that's not happening. You know, if anything, the driver who we're already paying to be on the run is going around spraying the seats and wiping them down. So they negated that charge. They took that off the bill, and they're going to give us a credit. So you know, she's doing some good things there.
Well, thank her from the board. We appreciate her diligence.
I'll do that. And then the on-time performance obviously has been great, and you know, we're looking at preparing for some changes here after spring to see, you know, how things go, and kind of alerted the companies to the fact that we may see some increase in ridership.
Okay. Any other questions for John?
John, just one other thing, which I assume is not a problem, but you just mentioned it. With the plan change coming up, we'll have no problem with any of the bus companies?
None are anticipated. We're already running, you know, all of our bus runs because the kids are scattered, you know, kind of peppered all over the school district. So in order to get them picked up and delivered to school in time, we're already running our full regiment of buses. So they've already committed drivers, buses to our district, and we can have under the ISB and CD, whatever, Illinois Department of Public Health, IDPH guidelines, we can have up to 50 students on a bus. So we're prepared, I think, from that aspect. If we need an overflow bus here or there, I think they'll be able to accommodate us.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
From here, we'll go ahead and we'll go back to update on the state financing issues. Dr. Gabe, do you have any information for us?
No, you know what?
Yeah, I'll just.
Dr. Gabe shared with me that there was no.
Well, I'll share. I'm sorry, John. I'll share a few. I'm sorry. There's a little bit if you don't mind. I'll go quickly with this. And some of it's just state stuff. Just letting you know that with the exception of one day session this week, the House is expected to continue meeting virtually on all its committees. So we should be getting more as it goes along. And the Illinois State Board of Education last Monday, they requested an additional $406 million or a 4.6% increase over the governor's proposed FY22 budget. The request came from the House Appropriations Elementary and Secondary Education Committee hearing last week. So the board is requesting an additional like $362 million for the evidence-based funding formula and $50 million for early childhood. And that $362 million is supposed to be going every year into the evidence-based model just to stay status quo. So we're hoping that the state does kind of pay attention, or the governor's office does pay attention a little bit to it. There are a few new laws that the governor signed in. House Bill 2170 is a new law. It represents the education and workforce development pillar of the Legislative Black Caucus initiative. So this new law will develop new programs to support minority early childhood development, a task force to explore equitable and school experiences. They want to revise state standards for high schools, special summer programs for impoverished students, in an effort to enroll more Black students in state colleges across the state. The Illinois Commission on Government Forecasting and Accountability delivered the FY22 revenue estimate to the General Assembly just this week. Last week, I'm sorry, it was last week. The commission estimates Illinois will bring in roughly $40.4 billion in fiscal year 2022, which is about $1 billion less than the governor's office thought they'd be bringing in. So the governor's budget is predicted on closing the $932 million budget through corporate tax loopholes, transferring $565 million in state funds. So we'll see where he gets the rest of the money. Illinois is expected to receive $13.2 billion in state local funding. $7.5 billion goes to the state and $5.5 billion for the city of Chicago and county governments. As part of the new relief bill that is expected to come to the state. The state has to pay its $3 billion debt off first of any money they get from the federal government. So if they do get the $13.2 billion, 3.1, I think it is, billion has to go back to pay the debt, the loan that they took out last year. We are continuing to monitor the new, as John said, the IDPH and CDC guidelines that are coming up. We saw that change last week when they went from 50 people to 20% capacity. And then finally, the Illinois recently saw at least some encouraging development from S&P. It's upgrading from its year-long status of negative. The rating agency is looking at moving Illinois up a little bit in the credit rating. So that's good news for us. So Mrs. Dalton, that's all I have at this point.
Thank you, Dr. Gay, I appreciate that. Any questions for Dr. Gay on that? Then we'll move up to our food service update.
Yeah, Mary, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Mary, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I know John asked that I share some of the changes in the food service department and some of the challenges that we've worked through because of COVID this school year. So I'll touch on 3 of the aspects that have affected us most. It's how social distancing and sanitation has impacted the cafeteria, and how our free meal distribution has changed, and how the rising challenge in staffing shortages has affected the food service department. So when the COVID pandemic first hit a year ago and shut down our schools, we quickly adjusted so that the students who were at risk had access to meals. The food service department packed up approximately 300 box lunches to be distributed. So we emptied the walk-in coolers of all the perishable items that we had, meat, cheeses, beverages, any snack items that were ready to be, were set to expire. We packaged those up, and a number of staff members from all the different buildings and administrators helped deliver those foods on buses. They were delivered to students' homes. So that was a huge undertaking. We wouldn't have been able to do that in the food service department without everybody in the district coming together. So when our inventory was depleted, Aldi gift cards were then distributed to the eligible free students, along with a grocery list of how they could purchase 10 lunches with those gift cards. And the district has continued to reach out to students and their families in a variety of ways to see how we can best support their nutritional needs during this time. We've reached out by surveying the free students, asking if they're having challenges with transportation. We continue to deliver meals to families' homes. I know that the principals have made personal phone calls to families asking how we can support. The dean's office and the guidance department have reached out to the different ones in needs. And I know the social workers have continued to have those conversations with students to see how we can best meet their needs. We've also posted on the website local food pantries where families can go to get meal packages during winter breaks and spring breaks. So currently, we're providing meal packages of 5 lunches distributed at the buildings after school from 3 to 5:30. And I'm really fortunate to have the food service staff. The kitchens have not closed down, and so we have the food service staff who are preparing food in the kitchen and packaging up. And so we don't have to purchase these costly processed food combos. The students are getting foods that they would to get if they were to come through the cafeteria lines. My hope was that the in-person learning students would stop in the cafeteria and grab their meals for the rest of the week. However, that hasn't happened. I was hoping they would come by at the 3 o'clock dismissal. And we have discrete packaging. I know that was a concern where, you know, students might not want to have to carry this lunchbox, but we have discrete packaging that we provide the meals in, but the students, just 0 students have come by to pick them up. So with the current 3 to 5:30 pickup, the distribution is still very low. We have currently daily between 1 and maybe 7 students who'll come into each one of the buildings and pick up their meals for the week. So I'm hoping that this is an indication that things are looking up, but I don't know what more to do at this point to reach out to those students at risk in providing meal packages for them. So the way that social distancing has impact on lunches has been quite a challenge because even though there's been numerous innovative solutions in how to place students in areas where their health and safety is met while students are eating lunch unmasked. Even with the new Illinois State Board of Education revised guidance, the recommendation is still that students must remain 6 feet apart while they're eating. So with the increased number of students that may be on campus choosing in-person learning, I will continue to work with the different departments, you know, and ensure that there be safe spaces for the students to consume their meals unmasked. But that is quite a challenge, the social distancing. So currently, The efforts have resulted in multiple eating locations throughout the buildings, where desks are placed 6 feet apart. The lunch tables are not able to be utilized because the seating is so close. So desks have been placed in gyms, and there's been dividers that have been installed in the commons to keep areas separate so that the students can be assured that they can eat safely unmasked. Two other initiatives in the cafeteria that have helped to maintain the social distancing and reduce the cafeteria lines is this year we implemented a cashless and a touchless cafeteria. So it's helped the students move along much quicker. Families are now adding, all families are now adding money onto their students' food service accounts in the district web store. And so cashiers are not exchanging any cash between students whatsoever. And digital scanners replace the keypads, so that's greatly reducing, exchanges between students and food service workers and minimizing touch points. I've also reduced the variety of menu selections in the cafeterias. And so with fewer choices offered, students move through the lunch lines a lot quicker. The duties of the food service staff has adjusted to meet the needs of the unique situation. So we've created a safety position that's been developed to monitor proper mask wearing and proper glove use and personal hygiene practices. And all of these things we have done in the past, and it's just strengthening our overall best practices. And so now the duties of the food service workers include sanitizing the kitchen throughout the workday, all common touch points. And we've designated Wednesday as our deep cleaning day. Food service staff also monitors the social distancing when students arrive into the cafeteria for each lunch period. And so to help reduce crowds gathering, we have staff manned beverage stations and snack stations, and all food is now sold prepackaged. And the prepackaged food has caused an increase in the cost of not only packaging the individual items that we sell in the cafeteria, but also the take-home meal containers. It could be anywhere between 18 and 20 cents per food item. But that's an important thing for us to do. And so we have continued to do that. And I know the food service workers are some of the hardest working people I know, and I'm really fortunate to have a great team of people. And I know that our department plays an important role too in the student school day. And we've struggled to hire a full staff this year. Fortunately, during the time of this hybrid teaching, the attendance inside the cafeteria has lessened too. So I've been able to manage the students coming into the cafeteria lunch periods with a reduced number of staff on hand right now, but that manageability could change depending on the number of students that choose in-person learning, until the remainder of the school year. We've had recently 4 lead positions retire, and so other food service workers have advanced into those positions, and it's been a struggle to replace those general food service workers. I anticipate having to hire 5 to 7 permanent employees and 10 substitute employees when we do open up to our normal schedule. And in spite of posting these positions, both internally and externally, there's been really little interest in the positions. During 2 recent interviews, the feedback that I've received is that the hourly pay is just too low, that they weren't able to accept the offer. It's a unique food service job, working in the school cafeterias. The hours, you would think that they were ideal to be done by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, no weekends and holidays, which is so unusual in the food industry. So the ideal candidate was usually a working mom, and now working moms are busy at home with their children who are learning remotely, and so it's really been quite a challenge. But despite this challenging year, it's also been an astounding year that we've all lived through, and I'm really proud of the food service department, all the way that they've adapted to all the changes and the flexibility, in making sure that that the food service needs of the students, and the different alternative ways that we've had to deliver food and prepare food in the cafeteria. So that's all that I have for tonight.
You know, Stu, if you don't, Mr. Dahl, if you don't mind, I'd just like to really go on record and thank Mary and her team. I've had the opportunity to go to the buildings quite a few times during lunch period, and I stopped by her staff, and they're probably the most pleasant people I've ever seen, and they're always working with the kids, and they've never said no to anything we've asked them to do to help us get food out to the students. Like Mary said at the beginning, we were loading up buses and loading up bags and going to doors, and they were right with us. I think we all owe a debt of gratitude to the food service personnel. They've done an outstanding job. They work well with the kids. Mary's true in saying that it's hard to get replacements because the hours they work and the pay. But really, Mary, just congratulations and thank you for all you've done in leading that team over this last year. Believe it or not, it's been a year that we've been doing this, and you've been just a pillar to making this being successful. So just wanted to go on record and thank you for that.
Thanks for acknowledging that.
I would add, thanks to Mary's efforts and her staff, that the food that's served is second to none. I think it's, as cafeteria food goes, I think really top notch. And they don't take shortcuts and buy bagged, soups. They're making soup from scratch. They're making, everything from scratch. So, thanks for all the efforts there, Mary.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's been great.
And Mary, a question, based upon the fact that you are having difficulty filling the roles, do you think once, more schools open up and the kids do go back to school, that it might make things easier? And if it doesn't, how are you going to be able to, handle the increased number of students that will come in with not satisfactory number of staff?
Well, I do anticipate once things go back to normal and there may be more people who are in the workforce looking for work, that we'll be able to fill those positions. Currently, for the end of the school year, to be able to accommodate the influx of students, I'm going to change that shift that we have for the pickup of take-home meals from 3 to 5:30, and I'm going to need that staff member to come in and work in the cafeteria during that time. So I'm going to alter that time frame and allow at least one more person in the cafeteria during lunch times. And also there are some auxiliary serving areas in one of the buildings where there's 2 food service members. We may have to bring those people back down to the cafeteria in order to open up a serving line there where we have more options where students can walk through the cafeteria in that
Okay.
way. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, thanks, Mary. And also on behalf of the board, I mean, the food service people are always been great to work with, and we love working with you guys. And, I wish the type of food you serve would have been around many, many years ago when I was in college. Because some of us can relate to the mystery meat that we used to get. And to this day, I still don't know what we were eating, but thank you for all you do and for the great meals you serve our students.
Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah.
Mary, can I ask one more question? The students that we have coming into the building, are we serving the same, I know it's fewer students, but are we serving the same percentage of students? Do you know, or
It appears that more students are bringing their food from home. Yes, we haven't had their participation, even though there are students in the building. We do see more bag lunches and more students are bringing their food from home. Yes, that has been
okay.
a change that we've noticed.
That would be my expectation, but I was curious if that was what was really happening.
Yes, that's what
Thank
I've
you.
observed. Mhm.
Any other questions for Mary? Again, thank you very much for all of your hard work, and the staff, please let the staff know as well. We appreciate all your efforts.
Yes,
And
we'll
this has
do.
been a very trying time, and we appreciate you being creative. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And now we can move on to insurance. That's always an exciting topic. We're going to
Yes.
be talking about the medical insurance renewal update.
Yeah, just at 4 o'clock today, we had our insurance meeting, and we did go over some information related to the, renewal. We don't have final rates, but the plan is performing well. The medical plans are at 98.5% of expected, so below what was expected. So that's great news, great to hear. They also shared some information from a mid-year report, which we'll be actually getting the full report in the next couple of weeks, along with the renewal information from Blue Cross Blue Shield. But our plan since 2015-16 has actually decreased when looked at from the cost per staff member standpoint. So that's crazy. No one could ever imagine that we would see a decrease in health insurance costs per employee, over the course of the last 5 years. But much of that has to do with the number of people taking the plans that they're taking, and of course we did implement a change where all new staff members only can receive either the HMO or HSA, which are two more affordable plans, and that was in our last negotiated contract, which we're just in the second year of right now, going into the third year of. So, I think a lot goes into that analysis, but it's, along with wellness, I think more people participating in the wellness initiative and finding out about problems early, addressing things with medicine and things that cost less money than treatment, in a hospital, makes a big difference. Along those lines, we discussed a test that was going to be done last year, offered to staff, and this test is going to be paid for by the members that participate, not by the plan, and it's called cardio optics. I don't know, some people may have heard of that before, but it actually screens organs and areas of the body for cancer, and also looks at the heart and vascular system. And this is done with, what do you call it, sound waves or whatever, it's an ultrasound, non-invasive test that's done right in the school. So we're going to look at either offering that in one location or at each of our locations, depending on the interest and participation. I believe they said one test was like $195, but if you did both of them, it's $300. And I believe HSA or FSA funds can be used to pay for this as a wellness test. And so we're excited about being able to offer that. We had wanted to do it a year ago, but just couldn't do it. And then about a year ago, we brought some uniformity to our RX plan, and the results of doing that are really showing in controlling our costs for prescription drugs. The big difference is that we're receiving larger discounts on RX. It's not really changed what people are taking or how much individuals have to pay. It's more been on the amount of money that the district receives in rebates as a result of bringing uniformity to our plans between the different plans. So that's all good news. I think it was a good meeting. Terry was actually there along with representatives from all of our unions, food service and teachers as well. So, you know, it went well. I think the overall increase, and you know, the 2 pages I was looking in my file here, they added the last 2 pages just before the meeting, and I don't have them in front of me, but I believe the renewal, if it were to take place today without all the data being considered, would be at about a 4.5% or so increase. And I believe he said that last year we were, at this time of the year, we were at about a 6%, and after negotiating with Blue Cross Blue Shield for the renewal, we actually got it down to a 0%. You know, we didn't change rates at all last year. We stayed flat. And, you know, as we're seeing from the data coming in now, it was a good move because we're right where we want to be, 98.5% of what's expected. And so if that's any indication, we could be looking at a pretty modest increase, if any increase at all. So that's great news.
Was there any indication that we can expect an increase with people holding off on doing electives or certain appointments because of their concerns of exposing themselves?
Yeah,
that we might see
yeah, we saw a real slowdown in that, but that has picked up. We can see it in the numbers that is the same was on the dental side. You know, people weren't going to the dentist, and all of a sudden they all flooded to the dentist, like in, I think it was November or something like that, and now again in March they're doing that again. And so, yeah, dental is tracking a little below, but dental is small potatoes. I mean, it's $1,500 an employee maximum benefits, so it's tracking a little high right now, about 10% high, but it's even 10% of small numbers is a small amount, so it's not anything of too much concern. But yeah, they have considered that, and I don't think they feel like anyone's putting anything off anymore.
Okay.
There was a kind of a COVID report, to indicate how that, and that to me, the numbers look like they were kind of ramping up, but it could be that, now with the slowdown, we're gonna see that taper off again, but both from a diagnostic standpoint of people trying to find out if they have it, or getting tested, able to go on a trip, or do different things, come back to work, or whatever it might be, to actually being treated for COVID. And, they said that the effect that they're seeing on our plan is pretty comparable to what they're seeing at other groups our size. So nothing out of the ordinary or unexpected there.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
Any other questions? We've already hit upon the transportation report, so our last item is the PE uniform bid results.
Yeah,
that time of year already.
Yeah, yep. That's on page 35 of your packet. 9 bids were sent out, correct, Chris? Mm-hmm. 9 bids were sent out to various vendors that are listed there in the memo. 4 bids were received. No, yeah, 4. 4 bids were received, and the price for a full uniform next year would be $7.14, supplied by Don's World of Sports. Who I believe, did they have it last year? They had it last year. Yeah, they had it last year as well at $6.97, so the price has gone up a little bit, but we'll probably be able to maintain the fee being charged. $8. Yeah, we're charging $8 with, the cost for unpurchased inventory and things
Right,
like that, yeah.
right.
It's always nice because they're somewhat local, so it's nice to have
Yeah.
a vendor that's close by. Any other questions? Well, I think that concludes our meeting tonight. I appreciate everybody's attendance. And our next meeting will be Monday, April 19th at 7 p.m. As expected, it'll be the same type of meeting unless something were to change. We'll be sure to inform you. And again, thank you very much for coming this evening. Whether it was
Thanks,
Zoom or in
everybody.
person.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Good evening.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Good night,
everybody.
everybody.